Hey folks, welcome to Guitar Daily. It's Nick Granville coming to you from Wellington, New Zealand. Today I thought I'd talk about the internet and kind of the great and wonderful place it is and the absolute mess that it can also be as well, right? I love the internet, I love YouTube, I love all this whole sort of stuff. There's things I hate about it, just like everyone else. But I thought I'd just kind of put this video out there because I think a lot of people get confused about where to start, where to look, what to do, how to evaluate things. How do you know what's what, right? So, first thing I'd say is just be very careful about who you listen to on the internet. Me included, you know what I mean? I could be talking a whole lot of crap and how would you know? So let's kind of discuss that today. How do you know what's the truth? So the first thing I'd say, there's kind of 5 main things I wanted to talk about today. First one I'd say is watch out for anybody who says there's only one way to do anything, right? Now different in terms of like maybe a theory of something, like C major scale. There's only one set of notes for a C major scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's different. That's not what I'm talking about, right? There's lots of different ways you can play that. But like I saw a video the other day and someone was talking about right hand technique and said they said this is the way you do it. I think they said you hold the pick like something, whatever, and and I was like, oh really? So then I looked at, started thinking, well, what about this player doesn't do that? And what about this player doesn't do that? And this player doesn't do that. So it shows you that anybody who says there's one way of doing certain things like that, they're full of it, all right? There isn't. There's multiple ways. If you look at the way that Pat Metheny holds the pick, it's very different from the way that Carlos Santana holds the pick, which is very different from the way Steve Vai holds a pick. Is Steve Vai wrong because he doesn't do it like Santana? Is Santana wrong because he doesn't do it like Steve Vai? Is Pat Metheny wrong because he doesn't do it like the other two? You know what I mean? It's as soon as people say there's one way thing. Now, of course, there's more efficient ways of doing things and not. That I totally get. But just be very wary of anybody on the internet who tells you there's one way to do certain things. Because often there isn't, right? That's the first thing I'd say. The other thing is the other day I saw someone put a thing on Facebook and said, what is this particular chord? Weird. Right? And there was a heap of answers. It was one of those forum type groups. Heap of answers around it. Someone said C major 6. Nope. Someone else said C major add major 9. Nope. And I think out of all of them I only saw one correct answer. Right? And I mean, some of these people chiming in were people who should know better. If we look at it, C, E is the 3rd, A is the 6th, D is the 9, and G is the 5th. So it's C6, 9. C6 with an add 9. It's not C major 6 because you have the 9th in there, right? It's not C major 9 because there's no 7th, right? But here were all these people chiming in with opinions that were just wrong. And I could imagine as someone who's kind of trying to figure out music, that must be really tricky because you're going, well, where do I look? This person says this is, you know what I mean? So be careful of that kind of thing, right? There was another example I can give you of that where I saw someone on Instagram talking about an easy way to play B minor, without having to play it as a bar chord. And this is literally what was described. Right, just 3 fingers to play B minor. Well, B, the root note, D, the minor 3rd, A, 7th. So it's not B minor, it's B minor 7 already, right? And then E is the, D, pardon me, D is the minor 3rd again, so doubled up, and then an E note on the top, which is the 11th. So it's B minor 11. B minor 11 is not B minor. Now this person, I've seen their stuff in, I won't say who it is, but in guitar magazines, all kind of stuff. And you're literally showing people wrong information. Wow. One thing I think a lot of people struggle with on the internet too is finding stuff that's at their level. So what I would suggest is be super realistic about what you're doing. Right? If you're a beginner player, don't be looking into like modal interchange or subbing minor pentatonics over things or giant steps changes. If you're a beginner, that's not where you're at, right? Try and find someone who's showing stuff on the level you're at, and you'll progress faster, right? And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up in the internet. It's like they start looking around at all these things, and things isn't at their level, and maybe they're beyond it, maybe they're below it, whichever. But try and find things that are at your level. So, how do you find who you can trust? You don't necessarily have to trust me. My opinion is just my opinion, right? And I'm saying things based on my experience, but you know, do your own research on it, right? So how do you know where to start? First thing I'd say is try and find someone who plays the style you want to learn, right? If you're looking for stuff on the internet. If you're like a hardcore metalhead, then you know someone like Jens Larsen is not someone that's going to be particularly going down the style that you want to do. You can learn stuff from him, no doubt, but try and find someone, you know, older maybe might be more suited to what you do. Things like that. Second thing I'd look for someone who's speaking with a whole lot of clarity about what they're doing, right? That there's not a whole lot of bullshit, you know. You must do this to try and become better, or 10 things you must do. You know, I don't mind lists, but I'm like, must? You must own this pedal. Or this guitar, or anything like that. That kind of, you know. Whereas if someone speaks with complete clarity on what they're doing and logic, go with that. Third thing I say is look for someone with experience, right? If you see someone on there who's talking about, you know, all kinds of stuff, you know, maybe they're talking about blues jam sessions and you know they've never been to one, you know, why trust that person's opinion? I wouldn't. I'd be like, man, you're full of it. I'd be looking for someone who's got real experience, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of people out there in this format now with YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and that. A lot of pro players are kind of engaging in this, so go to them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. The next thing I would say is look for someone who's consistent. You know, if they're talking about doing this way one time and then another way another time, another way another time, that shows that they're kind of just not really sure about what they're doing themselves. So how can they be sure to you? And again, that comes back to clarity. But look for someone who's consistent in their messages that they're saying with their stuff. And last thing I would say is, if you're not really sure, ask other people. Right? If you know other guitarists, then ask them, what do you think of this? Does that sound right to you? Or, you know, have a look around with people you know, people you trust, and then go, right, what do you think of this particular thing? And then form your own opinion from there. Anyway, I hope this has been useful. That's just some thoughts on kind of internet, learning on the internet, and music on the internet, and guitar and all this kind of stuff. I hope it's useful to you because, you know, it's the internet's an amazing resource for us all, and you know, I try and put out good material that I think people will get use from. I hope you feel the same way. So anyway, I'll play out on some stuff. I'm going to play some sort of more driven tones from this. Thanks again for watching. See you tomorrow. Cheers.